Hey girl, I have finally decided to get over and done with this thing that I've been putting off for the longest time. I am prepping my hair, washing my hair, stretching my hair in readiness for a trim, a proper, thorough, really good trim, and it's just high time. My hair is harder to manage. It's just a nightmare to detangle, all that kind of stuff. So we got to do this. Right now, I'm just showing you what I'm doing, and that's unraveling the nape of my hair before I go ahead to wash, because I have found that if I wash my nape in those twists, braids, whatever, the lint that accumulates and stays there is literally just, remedy for disaster. It sets me back, all that. It's not a good idea. So I have found that unraveling the nape of my hair or the nape of my head just allows me to thoroughly clean that nape, and lint just has to go. It can't kind of brew and stay there. My hair looks pretty clean and pretty moisturized still, because it's actually just 2 weeks since my last wash. I'm going in because obviously you guys know I've been swimming, and I did get some chlorine water around the edges, and like I said, I'm ready to trim my hair. The perfect time is right now because I've got a bit of time to do that. But also another thing is that I actually want to put in a different set of permanent parts that is hopefully going to be the one that stays the longest. I have been, gradually increasing my permanent parts to see what works for me. And it looks like around the 15 twist mark is what's going to work. So chunky twists. I went from mini twists to 30 parts to 20 parts, and now I think I know the sweet spot is around the 15 twists or 15 parts. So that's what I'm planning to go ahead and do. You guys know my washing process. You guys know, I don't even need to tell you, right? But I'm just gonna stop right here to appreciate that texture. It is dark, it is thick, it is beautiful, even if I've got struggles in my hair. So again, I just want to advocate for enjoying your hair, even if it's imperfect, even if you've got struggles. All right, girl, I just went ahead to shampoo my hair twice, actually, because I'm doing a blowout. Yes, that video is coming, and I think I've mastered how to blow dry my hair, in the healthiest way possible. And right there, I'm just showing you the thorough wash that I do at my nape, rinsing and wringing out all the water thoroughly before I go ahead to do my conditioner. Now, I don't really deep condition, you guys know. I kind of stopped that, a while ago, a couple of years now, and I just use this really effective rinse out conditioner, but I allow it to sit in the hair for quite a bit. It's the one I showed you at the beginning of the video from Briogeo, and that brand is not cheap, but I like it because it really softens my hair. And right now it looks like it doesn't have a lot of slip to detangle, but it does this thing where if you add water, it kind of foams up. So it really works well to detangle as well. Now we're going thoroughly detangling, and we're using a tangle teaser. As you can see, girl, I've got a few videos coming, particularly on detangling hair with tools. I'm actually going to do an experiment to see how much breakage, stroke, shed hairs that I get while using a detangling brush, because it's interesting that if you don't detangle your hair, you do gain quite a lot of length retention. But when you do go to actually detangle the time that you do, it becomes a little bit harder, right? It's more challenging. There's more tangles. There's more knots. There's dryness, and Lord knows the single strand knots and the lint, crazy. But we cannot deny the satisfaction we get from a proper detangle. And as you can see, the roots seem to be tangle free, because obviously I've been braiding the roots. So again, just reinforcing the fact that braids actually help maintain the hair free from tangles a little bit better than twists. And right here, I'm just trialing out this vertical detangling that I've seen on the internet. I would share the person that I watched it from, but apparently that's the right way to detangling vertically. But that's something that I didn't know, and I think if that's the case, then the brands should really tell you that this is how to detangle hair, rather than whatever direction. I tried it out, and honestly, it doesn't really make that much of a difference in my opinion. And I didn't really see more hairs either way that I detangled. And also, when you look at the brush, the little bristles are actually positioned in the same way, whether vertically or the other way, horizontally. So I can't really understand why we are meant to be doing it vertically, but yeah, let me know if you know any more information about this particular way of detangling. Anyway, back to the topic of thoroughly detangling. So I'm keen to hear your opinions about, because I know there's different types of naturals that watch my videos. There's people that detangle on the regular, weekly washes, 2 weekly washes, thorough detanglers, wash and go naturals, all that kind of stuff. And then there is me and the other naturals that like to let the hair just sit for a while and then detangle thoroughly, rarely. And both of these camps of naturals seem to retain length and swear by their method. And there's a few naturals that actually use, combs and brushes and still have decent amounts of length. For example, I'll put her video right here. I really love her. She's got long hair, longer than mine actually. And she actually uses a tangle teaser. She detangles thoroughly, all that stuff. Her hair looks really nice and healthy. And it kind of makes sense, right? If you detangle on the regular, there's less tangles to deal with. And also there is less issues, less lint, less, dryness. The hair, particularly if it was styled like with a gel, then it's in place. There's no room for shed hairs to kind of just shrivel up and mix and match and whatever. So it makes sense to detangle regularly in order to prevent tangles and therefore, having a less intense detangling session and therefore retaining length, right? When you consider some of us that leave the hair alone, like I've been advocating for leaving the hair alone for the longest time, you leave it alone, let the tangles brew, you're finger detangling for the most part, obviously you're trying to keep your moisture on top of things, but then you've got lint and all that to deal with. However, we're kind of happy to deal with the disaster that we find at the end of the month or month plus. Because then it's like one sitting of detangling and you'd retain quite a decent amount of length, etc. So both camps seem to have a reasonable way of looking at things. And again, there's many ways of retaining length. It's just a matter of choosing which one works for you. The key thing that I'm seeing here among naturals or between naturals that use combs and brushes, thorough detangling, regular washing, that kind of thing, versus the ones that don't, the ones that wash monthly, the ones that finger detangle, the ones that leave their hair alone, that kind of natural, is that the frequent detanglers can retain length, but it will plateau at a certain point, right? It will kind of stay at either bra strap and maybe waist length, but it's usually around the bra strap mid-back area or length. However, the ones that end up having tailbone length, hip length, knee length, as in indigenous strands, girl, these people ditch the combs. They are not frequent washers. The truth of the matter is that in order to really see length, as in great amounts of length past waist length, it's to actually do less detangling with combs. Because in as much as, yes, this is an effective way of detangling, compared to what we're doing as kids, for example, to really see results, you would have to minimize this manipulation. This is what I'm finding and concluding. Coco in Kyoto speaks a lot and very well and eloquently about this particular issue. So go check her videos out on how to get to bra strap and beyond. She really articulates how, these things actually matter. And some people detangle underwater, as I am right here. And it's helpful because that weight of the water kind of puts weight on the tangles and helps detangle better, in less amount of time, in a less amount of time. But then I don't know what damage is being caused here. And for people that do it on the regular, like once a week, I don't know if that's gonna get you to tailbone. And again, it's okay if you don't want to get to tailbone. That's not for everyone. But this channel, majority of us, we're going for the longer lengths, right? So these are my thoughts around this, guys. It seems that the leaving the hair alone and detangling thoroughly, carefully, once in a while, just to make sure the hair is not locking and to remove shed hairs, etc. That is the best. That's going to see you really pivot to longer length. So I'm not just talking about waist length, I'm talking longer lengths. The length that boggles our minds. Yeah. And that's not for everybody, like I said, but yeah, just be aware. This is my shed hair, and it's only 2 weeks since I last thoroughly detangled. And it's a lot because postpartum shedding is here. So pray for me, girl. Pray for me.